All right, hello guys. Hopefully the stream is good. I will check it here in a second. But we are going to be doing kind of a little bit of a chill stream, right? We'll be getting back to the Targaryen bracket probably next week. But, just came back from vacation, just kind of wanted to do a nice little chill stream. So we're going to be talking about kind of our favorite moments. And I had you guys submit these through Instagram, Discord, and or the YouTube community channel, or page. I don't know why I said channel. So if you ever guys want to participate in any stream topics, that's always going to be the place, especially Instagram, Discord, and also the community page. So for anybody rewatching that, if you guys would like to participate in any of that, you can join any of those. All the links are always in the description. Also, I want to say hi, Jim. How are you? You said you're going to miss this one, but, I'll see you on the replay. So see you, future Jim. Hi, Evie. How are you? But yeah, we're going to be discussing some of our favorite elements, moments, quotes within A Song of Ice and Fire in this stream. Just going to be a nice little good old time. So yeah. Also, so we're going to start the stream with my favorite. Okay. We'll get into your guys' favorite, but I'm going to do my favorite moment. Now, I think for me, it's pretty simple for me. I know I'm very basic. Okay. I'm very basic. I'm very easy to please. My favorite moment, I think, in all of A Song of Ice and Fire is the Red Wedding. It just is. I know it's the basic answer, but it's like the way that it was formulated in the books, where all of these chapters, especially leading up to it, I've done reviews on the Catelyn chapter before the Red Wedding, the Arya chapter for the Red Wedding. The way George does his writing, and he builds the atmosphere and builds this unease within you as you're kind of like there with Catelyn. Like, you want to get through this wedding, this whole Frey stuff really quickly. And also, like, there's other things going on that you just want to get through this. And all of the warning signs you're given throughout all of the books, the first three, they're all there. And I just think the Red Wedding is a very horrific chapter, but it's like the culmination of the first three books, and it feels like, to me, the climax of the story, at least in the early parts of the books. I'm glad you're good, Evie. Hello, Gabriel. How are you? I love the great ending of the books. Yes. A great ending we've gotten so far. I agree, Otto. Hi, Mar. How are you? Hi, Random Stuff, and hi, Maz, as well. So I gave my personal favorite moment. We can talk about it some more if you guys want, but I've done a whole, like, analysis. I think I've done multiple analyses on the Red Wedding and just, like, everything around that. So if you want to watch that, you can. There's some of my favorite videos. I remember when I was recording them, but yeah. Follow-up moments, or, like, good moments outside of that, which is going to be one we're going to talk about, is Renly's Peach. I really love that chapter. It's one of my favorites, and it's definitely, I think, my favorite chapter of Clash of Kings. So that would be another one of those great moments I love. Another one of them would probably be, again, spoilers for House of the Dragon, for anybody re-watching this or anyone in the chat that wants or doesn't want to get spoiled. I think Daemon and Aemon's fight at Harrenhal is another one of those great moments. Basically, like, encasing the Dance of the Dragons and kind of like one of the big endpoints there. But yeah, just Catelyn chapters. You love her so much. I love her POV chapters. I don't love her. So I have a really love-hate relationship with Catelyn because I really enjoy reviewing her chapters because she's awesome. As in, she's very human. She is very interesting to study from a psychological point. But her as a person, don't really like her. So it's a really weird one of those things. My favorite moment is after Jon comes back to life because I know roughly what will happen. Well, there you go, Mar. There you go. All right. So I'm going to start with, I guess we'll do Instagram. It's the simplest. I have, I think, the least amount on there. So we'll start there, and then we'll work to Discord. All right. So we have Maz, because he always comes in because he's the GOAT with topics for streams, because he just is the GOAT. Put in, my favorite element is the themes of internal conflict and character growth. So this is a perfect segment from when we were just talking about Catelyn. Internal struggle is something that I really feel like George does a great job of, because us as people, we have a lot of this conflict, whether you should do this, whether you should do that, what is the best for you, but what is maybe the best for other people. emotionally what you think is going to be good, but from maybe a bystander's point of view, or maybe just if you're looking at it from, you're taking yourself out of the situation, what is objectively the best situation or thing you should do, is really compelling. And I think it's something that, you really see with Catelyn. She's a character of internal struggle that we see her constantly battling with the emotional side of her character, and also the idea of the logical side, right? We see it when Catelyn is a character that is pulled out of the situation, where she's a bystander, where she's like a Renly and Stannis. They're both going to go to war and, attack each other. And Catelyn's kind of like on the sidelines. She's someone that can sit back, look at this and say, this is really stupid. We should be doing this instead, and all of that. She's very good when it comes to that point of view. But when you put her under a lot of stress, when you put her in a situation where maybe her family's involved or something like that, she kind of starts to think very illogically, which is very human. It's a lot of that internal type of struggle. Think about another character like Jon. Jon is someone that when he becomes Lord Commander, he is someone that has to put away a lot of his biases. He has to, again, he can't really get involved with the conflicts of the realm. For instance, he kind of has to ask the Boltons for help. He kind of has to ask the throne for help, even though he doesn't like these people. It's things that internally he's struggling with doing. And I love that consistency with George's writing. See this with a lot of other characters like Dany and who she should trust, and internally trying to figure out, what are these prophecies that kind of Quaithe is giving her. I really love that. I think that's a really great point that Maz brings up. Or not, yeah, Maz. So the other part of that was the idea of character growth. And again, that's something that I think a lot of media now, a lot of the movies we get, a lot of the shows we get really struggle with this. And I am someone that's a sucker for good character development. If, again, a character does not inherently evolve, or if he does not, or he or she, whatever, does not have any change, or there's no conflict to their character, they don't really make sense to me. And this is something where, I'm doing a series on my other channel, which, again, going very slowly, just because it's been very busy. But the character of Rey is someone that, for instance, doesn't have this character growth that Maz is talking about, where you see a character have strengths, weaknesses, and how do those affect them as a character? So, for instance, if we look at a character like Jaime, who is probably the best example of a character with a lot of character growth. He's a character that starts off being someone that, again, one of his strengths is his sword play. He's very good at sword fighting, and his love of Tyrion is kind of a strength of his. What are some of his weaknesses? Well, he can be very arrogant. He is someone that, again, is sleeping with his sister. Not great. So how do those kind of impact him as a character? Well, we see that, yes, his strength of being good at combat is something that also, with his arrogance, leads him to be captured by Robb. Now, how is he going to learn from that? How is he going to grow? What do we do when we take away one of Jaime's biggest strengths in his sword hand? All of that is compelling writing and makes you interested in these characters and makes them feel very human. All right, sorry I didn't respond to chat much there. Also, Maz, you did a fantastic comment. I really love that idea, or I guess that theme of the story. Thoughts on A Dance with the Dragons, Dany 10. I'm gonna be honest, random stuff. I don't know the Dany chapters by like number, especially the later ones. But let me look real quick. Let me look to see which one it is. Dany 10, Dance with Dragons. Let me just get the plot synopsis. Okay, so that's her last chapter then. I think it's not the best chapter. It's real weird because it's like Dany is kind of just wandering around, eating like poo water. Yeah, it's not my favorite chapter of Dany. I mean, I think Dany reflecting on what's happened and all of that's pretty good, but it's not one of my favorites, I will say. Excuse me, I forgot your name. Exam seriously exhausted me. Studying in Iraq is very, very difficult. Well, good luck, Mar. My name, if you're asking for my name, I don't know if you were asking for somebody's name in chat, but my name is Eric. So, yeah. And good luck as well. Hi, Matthew. George R. R. Martin should ask for help to finish his story. I think, that would be good. I just don't think it's one of those things where, like, I think George, you make this world, you make this story. It's kind of hard to turn over kind of the keys to that and let people help him with that, or maybe even people, write it. Or I think that's one big thing, is like having someone else write it after. It's kind of a thing of pride, How do you turn over something that you've worked so hard on to someone else? Or let them have a lot of input? Like, for instance, right? It would kind of be like in my reread, right? It's something that doesn't get a lot of views on YouTube. It's not something that does particularly well on my channel, but it's something I particularly really like doing, even though it's a lot of work. It's something that, when I look back and when we get done with the first book and, we start getting further and further, I'm going to sit back and be like, okay, well, this is something that I've completed as a person. It's very fulfilling. I've completed a really big task. I wouldn't want somebody else to come along and like maybe help me finish it at the end. It would just kind of feel really weird. And it's something with just pride, in my opinion. My favorite is definitely the kiss between Sansa and Sandor, because that did happen, right? That's up for debate. I don't even know how I feel on that one, Otto, but it's an interesting moment, I will say. Hi, Kipep, or Kipep. How are you? What kind of goblin are you? Well, I'm the Goblin King, so that's all I'll say to that, Casper. And also, how are you? Hey, my lord, been missing a few streams for a while because of work, but I'm back for this one. Love to see it, Ghost, and do not worry. I didn't know that was a race of goblins. Well, it is. That's all I gotta say. I laugh when Catelyn decided to go up to the Eyrie on the pulley system basket thing that transports supplies. Tyrion had refused to get in the basket with the turnips. Yeah, that is a really interesting point. Not sure. We're about to be there on the reread, so I'm going to be interested to get into that. The North and Dorne go to war. Who will win? Okay, so this is an interesting idea, Otto, because it would depend. Who is the aggressor in the fight? Or who is the one trying to actively take the land? Because whoever is in the defensive situation is going to win. So say it's Dorne that's pissed with the North, and the Dornish are looking to invade the North would win. But if it's the other way around, if the North invaded Dorne because for some reason they were mad, for whatever reason, the Dornish would win. So that's a question of who is invading who, I guess. And let's say if they're on even ground. If they're on even ground, say they're just randomly fighting in the Stormlands, so they're both not on home turf, that's a tough one. I would give it to the North. If we're talking about their current states in the story right now, I'd give it to Dorne. But say we were saying, like, Ned with the North, that's a tough question, because you have to factor in what's the leadership on both sides looking like. Are we talking about them at their full strengths? That's a very difficult question on who would win that. The fact that some of the people he writes develop into bad people and keeps getting worse is my favorite. Yeah, exactly. It's one of the greatest points, is that these people are actually people, right? They're not these perfect characters that never have any type of progression. And I love that. It's one of the best parts of his character, because we don't see that in a lot of films. We just don't. And that's just something I really enjoy. Hi, Ashley. How are you? I'm not talking nothing. Ashley, we're fine here. We're fine. You're getting a little worked up, okay? It's fine. I have not played Spartan Warrior on PS2. I have been using a PS2 emulator, though. I've been doing playing some of my childhood games on there, so that's pretty cool. Maegor's Valiant Defender is here to tell you why he is the best. I will not agree that he was the best, but he did a lot of good things. Okay, so both want to invade each other. So, again, let's say that they meet on an open playing field. And let's say they're both at full strength. And let's say that they both have good leadership. I would give it to the North. I think the Dornish are really good at defending. We haven't seen them really be as offensive. Like, they haven't done a lot of the invading. So, I don't know. I would personally maybe give it to the North if it was open, but I don't know. Do you think Arianne will die, and what will Doran do when he learns that the whole family died? I think Arianne will die. I think her just taking sides with young Griff is not a good look. I think Dany will end up probably killing her at some point. And I think for Doran, it's going to be this idea where his whole family has died because of probably his inaction. He waited too long. He didn't make the right moves. And because of that, he's kind of going to be responsible for that. I could see Doran in a very situation, if George wants to get really dark with it, Doran having his Tommen moment where he's just like, I've had enough of this. I mean, the Dornish does have fighting experience in the Stronglands if you count the Dornish marches. Okay, that's fair, Ghost. Okay, let's just say they get teleported into an arena that neither has ever had any experience on. It's just both of them adapting to the field. I'd probably say the North, but I don't know. You can go either way. I'm very protective of the Hound. What can I say? Yeah. What do you think will happen to Jane Westerling in the end? I think she's a character that probably will be fine. I think she'll just live out her days. I don't think she has a huge importance to the story. I know, Mar, I think you're a big fan of her having Rob's baby. I just don't support that theory. So for me, she's just not as important. But Daemon would be iffy about Maegor. I agree. I think Daemon realizes keeping a better image is important. Like, Daemon is someone that actively, I think, tried to get the love of the people at times, whereas Maegor didn't really care about that. Ned versus Doran, who wins one-on-one? Ned. Easy. Smoking him. All right, let's move on. So, we're going to go to our Discord question. So we had a couple of things on there. And Matt has had some on here as well. So we love to see that because he is the GOAT. So moving on. We have Abarj. I'm not sure how to say your name. Sorry about that. I know I've seen you in chat a lot. So, yeah. Number 1. Manderley, the North Remember speech. So this has been on here a lot. A lot of you guys said one of your favorite moments was a lot of stuff just revolving around the Manderleys and Davos, and I have to agree. Again, one of the best moments of Dance, and it's just this fantastic speech where it's like we kind of had this big misdirect where we're like, okay, Wyman Manderley kind of seems really tight with the phrase, but then we kind of get this nice reveal where it's like, no, Wyman Manderley is all for the Starks, and he's playing basically 3D chess, and you just got these phrases playing checkers. It's just a fantastic speech. And yeah, I agree. I think it's a fantastic moment for the audience as well as for Wyman. Number 2, the intro to Lady Stoneheart. And the quote, her eyes saw him and they hated. Again, fantastic chapter and or moment to choose. Again, this revelation that Stoneheart is back, or Catelyn is back. And we see again some of the Freys paying for their crimes. It's just a fantastic chapter, and it leads perfectly into the next book. But hold on. I also don't have my tea today, guys. I just got some Diet Dr. Pepper. But also today was my last day of physical therapy, so there was that. So no more that taking up my time, which I'm glad. I was gonna edit some of my videos for this week, but I just didn't have time. And then the last one, we agree that Renly and the Peach, just fantastic. It builds so much of Stannis' characters. It builds so much of Renly's character. It's a great idea of the difference in ideologies of what makes someone a king, whether that be through like blood, like Stannis being legitimately the next heir because Joffrey and Tommen are bastards and Myrcella. And then you have Renly, who it's kind of like the idea of popularity and also shifting the narrative, right? Like being able to say, okay, well, who knows? It's your word against the Lannisters' word on who is actually should be king, like them saying that Joffrey is legit. So again, Renly can play the card, well, I have more support, more people want me to be king, and regardless, Stannis, you're not supposed to be the king either. So he can play that kind of nice card there. It's a great ideological difference between the two, as well as we get the idea. Oh, I just like slipped and like made my voice go up because I'm like, I have my arm on my like rest here, and it like just yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. But with that being said, you also have the idea of what does Renly kind of stand for? He's a character of pleasantries. You know, he enjoys his life. He enjoys a lot of the things. And on the flip side of that, you have Stannis, who's someone that doesn't really have any enjoyment in his life. He doesn't, like his wedding, or not his wedding, his marriage. He doesn't take much enjoyment in his life whatsoever. He's someone that, probably has a bit of like trauma from his upbringing. He's lived in a lot of bitterness because of his brother and things that have happened to him. So just a great chapter for both of them. I like the idea of them going to war because they're so far away from each other. Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, how would they even go to war? Would it be one of those things where it's like the North, just with the fleet at White Harbor, they just go around and invade that way? That'd be interesting. So are you a fan of Jon? I'm assuming this is Jon and Sansa. I am not, Mar. I am not. I love to double dip. Yes, well, Maz, I love your like questions and your topics, so you're always welcome to do so. Glad you made it, Haley. Glad you made it. Ned for sure. Doran is crippled, and Ned is younger and has a Valyrian steel sword. That's true. What about an injured Ned versus Doran? I'm still taking Ned. All the way. Wyan Manderley is the GOAT. He do be the GOAT. I agree. The Northern plotline was butchered. I agree, Ashley. I agree. He dropped one hell of a diss. Mayhaps it was a blessing if he would have grown up to be a Frey. Nobody wants to grow up to be a Frey. That's all I gotta say. If you grow up to be a Frey, there's no helping you. There's no cure for being a cunt. Also, thank you, Maz. I appreciate it. What do you think will be the fate of House Lannister in the end? I think Tyrion is going to survive, so I think he will kind of be the person probably in charge of the Lannisters. I would really love if our boy Tyreek Lannister, again, for people that don't know the inside joke on this channel, Tyrek Lannister is actually named Tyreek Lannister, and that's how it should be. So I'd love to see him in charge. I do think the Lannisters will be still on top. I don't think they're going to go extinct or anything. I think a lot of the major Lannisters will be gone, but I do think the Dornish know that they are bastards, but it's kind of one of those things where they can use it to their advantage, right? Like if, them having Myrcella, right, where Arianne wanted to crown Myrcella, it gives them a lot of power going, oh yeah, they're not bastards, it's fine. It's kind of one of those things. Also, like Doran's plan at this point is kind of to go along with the Baratheons or the Lannisters at this point, so it's kind of like, yeah, he's just going to play into that, so. I haven't heard a lot of theories on how Tyrion plans to defeat the Vale. So that's an interesting question, but I mean, here's the thing. If you have dragons, you can defeat the Vale. The Vale is, by all means, impregnable. So, again, if you have dragons, that's the way you conquer it. We saw that with how Aegon the Conqueror did it with his sisters. If you have dragons, it's such a big difference. And I don't think it's even going to come to that, right? I don't think it's going to probably even, I don't think that's going to be a big point of it anyway. Maegor is just Stannis with a dragon and a real magic sword, and he has his own magic woman who resurrects him. I wouldn't go that far, because Stannis is not someone that's cruel. Maegor, in his later life, especially after Visenya dies, is someone that's very violent and takes a lot of extremes, where Stannis is not that person, in my opinion. I think Stannis is much more like Maekar Targaryen. I'm actually going to be doing a Maekar Targaryen video this week, and I really love the comparison of Maekar and Stannis. They're very similar characters. So I hope you guys enjoy that when that comes out. Wonder how different things would be if Baelor the Blessed actually went to war against the North and the Iron Islands to make them believe in the Seven. That would not have ended well for him, especially invading the North. I just don't think you can invade the North and it work out. Now, the Iron Islands, again, a lot more feasible, especially if you had the backing of Westeros. That one could have been accomplished. That's one thing that bugs me with George on Catelyn, because in an interview, he talks about his one complaint with Lord of the Rings is, why did you bring back Gandalf? George, why did you bring back Catelyn and Jon? So he hasn't brought back Jon yet. Don't say that. But I think the thing that George did not like about it is that Gandalf was a pivotal character to Lord of the Rings. He was kind of a character that was guiding us through the story, right? He was, Frodo always leaned upon him. And the big thing with when Gandalf dies in the first book is that it really opens up the story, because now we don't have a plan now. Aragorn doesn't really know where to take the Fellowship. Like, there's a lot of different routes, and it changes everything, right? It changes what Aragorn was going to do, because Aragorn was originally going to go to Minas Tirith. And so Catelyn is a character that's not inherently pivotal to the story, right? Like, after where she was at this point of the third book, she was kind of like not really pivotal to the story anymore, right? She was just kind of our POV into Robb's camp. And the other thing here is that when Gandalf comes back, he's more or less unchanged. Like, yes, he does have more power and things, but he's, for the most part, unchanged as a character. Catelyn comes back and is completely different. She's not Catelyn anymore. Now, the Jon one, I don't know yet, right? I don't know how Jon is going to be as a character after. I've speculated that maybe he'll be a little bit more aggressive. He'll be a little bit more animal-like. But again, will Jon change? Hopefully. That's the way George writes characters. So I would assume that George's biggest complaint was how Gandalf came back, like who Gandalf was. Like, maybe it'd be different if Gandalf came back and he was a bit more like Saruman, he was a little bit more corrupted, or something changed within Gandalf. So you like what, Mar? Personally, I like Jon and Val better. I don't know if Jon's gonna ever have like another relationship, but I think that him and Val is better. It's so weird Renly went for the crown. He had such a good life. Why try to be king and not just be content with being one of the 10 most powerful men in Westeros? So, Metal, this is an interesting question. And again, it comes down to greed and wanting or getting more. If you think about it, if you watch, like, for instance, a game show, and you always see these people that they go for more money, and the odds definitely favor that they're going to probably lose. What pushes them to go further? That dream of maybe getting more, having more than you already have, not being content with what your life is now. I think that's something that takes a lot of, mental stability. It's something that takes a lot of maturity to understand, you don't need something anymore. You don't need to go further and do things that maybe put your, life in a little bit more of a hectic state because of greed. So I think greed is kind of one of the big themes of the character like Renly. Cersei enjoying eating boar a little too much after Bobby B dies is sick, but a little ironic or iconic. I agree. I think it's a really good moment for Cersei. I can't truly imagine how betrayed Stannis felt when he found out his younger brother said he should be king instead. Yeah, I think that's just another blow to Stannis, where Stannis has been this character that has always supported Robert, has always been there for Robert, whether that's through, the Greyjoy Rebellion, Robert's Rebellion, whether that's just being at court. I think it's one of those things where we look at it, and Renly was supposed to do that, what Stannis did for Robert, and Renly didn't. It's just one of those things that is truly heartbreaking for his character. What if Jon kind of just be built different? Well, Carson, maybe he is. What about Bran without magic versus Duran? Oh, Duran's clapping. Duran is clapping Bran. Technically, we already got the battle between Dorne and the North at the Trident with 10,000 Dornish. Very different circumstances, though, Matthew. Because that, in my opinion, was not a fair fight. Like, think about the North, right? These are battle-hardened warriors at this point. Like, they'd been through a couple battles. You then also have, like, the idea here that... I guess the Northern forces weren't really battle-hardened at this point. It was more like Robert's forces. But still, the North at this point is fighting for a just cause, but they have a reason for why they're fighting. The North are trying to avenge their liege lord, and then also Ned's brother Brandon, and there's much more to fight for, right? They've also threatened Ned now. Lyanna's been kidnapped. There's much more for the Stark men to fight for. The Dornish, on the other hand, they're here. Why? They're under a king that they don't really like. The average Dornish person probably was guessing as to why they're here. The different morales for each side were completely different. It was a very completely different advantages that the North had over the Dornish. I think History of Westeros, they did an episode talking about the Battle of the Trident. They really explain that really well, better than I can. And that's a big thing to consider. So like when I talk about like if you were going to do an even fight, that's not really an even fight, but you are kind of technically right. But you're agreeing, Sterling, and that quote that you just brought up is one we will get to as well. Oh boy, Ashley. Tyrion will find the Lannister Valyrian steel sword. That would be really cool. Hey, the Freys weren't always bad. They were the good guys during the Dance of the Dragons. Okay, fine. I would make the House Greyjoy great. They would make smart decisions. Holly, I definitely would back you 100%. I definitely 100% back you there. I think that another good moment is Barristan when he defeats Mero with a stick. It shows how badass he is. Yes, I agree. I think Jon or someone should swipe House Peak's Valyrian steel sword. Okay, House Peak should have been extinguished after Maekar's death. I know Aegon, when he kind of took the crown, he was all about, we don't want all this violence, we don't want all this, but they've rebelled like how many times? Like, just kill them. Give their lands to some other house that would be loyal to you. I don't know. What is the life of one bastard boy against... Again, great quote. Fantastic quote. Dude, that... Beautiful. If you showed your entire life and all its details as a film, can you watch it in front of people? If the answer is no, then make the film better because it will show the resurrection day. I don't know if anyone could sit back and watch their own life with other people. You know how cringe you would be? Like, just like you look back at moments and you're like, wow, that was really dumb. Like, that was just super dumb. Like, could you imagine all the dumb things you've done in your life and this, like, you have, like, say, like, one of your friends next to you and you're just like, man, that was stupid. There's absolutely no way, Mar. There's no way. I don't care how perfect you are. You've done something stupid at some point. What if we will meet? I would like us to meet Tysha again, but I don't know. Greyjoy versus Frey. I like Greyjoy's more than House Frey, but they're both... You know what? House Frey is smarter than House Greyjoy. But I like House Greyjoy more. One of the worst things about Renly making a campaign for the crown is that he had to know Stannis would never relent. Stannis had to know that... Yeah, exactly. That's one of the... Like, Renly knew that about Stannis. So, inevitably, Renly knew he was going to have to take out Stannis. That's just... Yeah, it's... yeah. The sticky icky, yeah. Tyrion versus Dantos, but they're both drunk. Oh, Tyrion's clapping. He's destroying him. Just saw a video today, just a brainstorm, and talking about Myrcella marrying young Griff to give him more legitimacy. I found it interesting. Any thoughts? Well, the issue here would be people that don't like young Griff or don't believe him, giving him Myrcella wouldn't help, because people then would just be like, okay, you just married another bastard who's illegitimate to the throne. I don't know how much I like that theory. I think it, like, gives legitimacy to young Griff for people that already back him. That's kind of how I would view it. If the Mad King had a dragon, there would be some problems. Like, multiple houses would get destroyed. Honestly, I think Rhaegar would assassinate his father. Any chance Bloodraven is a George R. R. Martin version of Gandalf? No, because I think Gandalf is someone that is much more pure and is good, whereas Bloodraven obviously has done a lot of very controversial actions. Now, if you want to come at the point of Gandalf is kind of the one guiding the story through, and Bloodraven is kind of the equivalent of that, I would agree on that point. The Dornish were fighting for Elia, Martell, and they did have... Yeah, but see, like, that's the thing, though. Did the average soldier know that, like... Yeah, Elia is kind of a captive, so that's kind of why we're fighting. Like, I just think, like, on one side of it, you had way more motivation than the other. If there was a movie of my life, it would definitely be all my stupid shenanigans with... Oh, God. Oh, God, Maz. No, don't put that image in here. I wish one of the Blackfire rebellions succeeded and Aegon the Fifth made his own rebellion to take back. That'd be an interesting fanfic. That'd be interesting. Honestly, I'm a big Blackfire guy. I like the Blackfires. You know, I think they get too much hate. Like, Melees, was he really that bad of a guy? He only killed like a couple family members. It's okay. That might happen with Phaegon and Daenerys. Yeah, that's very true. All right, so let's move on. Man, we're not even through Discord yet, guys. Oh, God. All right. No chance and no choice. This came from Rat, so thank you for your, or not your question, but your topic. With Brienne at the inn at the crossroads. Yeah, fantastic quote, because Brienne at this point is thinking, okay, there's 7 people in front of her. She's got no chance. She has no chance, but she also has no choice. She has to fight. It kind of is a great idea of Brienne as a character. She's one that her willpower, especially when it comes to fighting, she's extremely brave, and she's kind of sticking up to these people. So, yeah, great quote for Brienne as a whole. Carson, who was in the chat earlier, says, 1, when Jon gets killed, the moment he realizes, I'm getting attacked, I'm going to die. Fantastic moment. And it's so heart-wrenching in the book compared to the show, where it's like you have people, you know, crying as they're stabbing Jon. This is obviously a hard decision. A lot of people probably like Jon, but he's just, in their opinion, he is not doing enough for the Night's Watch, and he's going to destroy it. You know, he's letting in the wildlings. He's doing all the stuff that's not great. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic moment. And again, I talk about this, you know, because he makes a comment that says, I realize how much I like the last book now. And the thing with the last book, Dance, is that it has such high moments. There's so many memorable moments in the book because it has all the payoffs from Feast. It has all the payoffs for Dance. It's just a book that has so many high moments. And I think the low moments is kind of what kind of holds the book back from being like one of the better books for me. Is like, it just has a lot of moments in there where it's like, you know, it's fine, but it also has a lot of moments where it's like, okay, this is not really going anywhere. At times with Dany, at times with Bran. So, yeah. Next one is when Davos is meeting with the Manderly. So again, we already talked about this one, but yeah, great moment with Wyman. And then when Jon gets the letter from Stannis and notes how him saying he will try to rescue his sister is strangely kind, showing, in my opinion, a softer side of him. Yeah, I think, and again, this makes sense just politically for Stannis as well. Stannis seems like he likes Jon, regardless of the issues they've kind of had. And also, it's kind of this idea where, you know, he knows this is going to make Jon happy, so that, you know, he'll have a good relationship with the Night's Watch moving forward as well. And yeah, it is kind of that softer side that we see from Stannis. All right. What did I miss? What you drinking tonight, Grease? I am drinking Dr. Pepper, Diet Dr. Pepper. It's not cheat day, so, you know, no calories and all that. So you know how there are always people suggesting who would be the ideal lineup of Kingsguard? Nobody seems to have tried to create the worst possible lineup yet. Well, okay, so here's what you do. You put Kristen Cole up there at number 1, okay? You put him up there, right? And honestly, you kind of just put the Kingsguard from the main story in there outside of Loras and like Jamie, and then you're good to go. Like that. There you go. Perfect. I believe Daenerys would force Dorne to their knees, conquering without a marriage pact. I'm sure they'd regret using Marcella then. Yeah, I agree, Holly. Just saw a Resident Evil film, and who should be the villain is none other than Jorah Mormont's actor, Ian Glenn. I have never seen any of the Resident Evil films. I'm not a horror like fan in general. What if the Army of the Dead came from the south? Well, the Dornish would be absolutely screwed because they have had no idea what's going on. They would be super underprepared, seeing as all they have is like summer clothing, because it's hot in Dorne. So they'd be absolutely boned. That's all I have to say. They'd be absolutely screwed. All right, let's continue. So, Maz points out one of my favorite things are the dry wit and shade thrown between the characters. A few off the top of my head are the Brotherhood without banners while they're hanging Merritt Frey. Yeah, that's a good one. Jamie and Shitmouth. Yep, that's another one. And Courtney Penrose refusing to yield while talking shit to Stannis. Yeah, yeah, ton of great moments there. that I agree with. Another one from a beer. Another top moment is when Roy Dottridge starts reading the reigns of Castamere at the start of the Red Wedding. Yes, another good one as well. All right, let's move to YouTube. All right, what do we have here on my YouTube comments? Or my channel page. Also, I just saw this comment. Can you explain what the 5 forts are? I'm going to be completely honest with you, Kipep. I don't know a ton about them. I don't know a lot of Essos lore. I know that like they're the 4. I think they're like the 5 forts that are like of the Empire of YT on the boundaries, I believe. I don't know a lot about them. I'm not the greatest on Essos lore, so if anyone on the channel knows like a lot more about that, please inform Kipep about that. If a Blackfire Rebellion did take the throne, which rebellion would it be? It would definitely be the first one. The first one was the closest they got, in my opinion, because you just look at what could have happened. If so many things had gone differently in the Battle of Redgrass Field, just there was a chance Daemon could have won. You know, if Daemon doesn't get off of his horse, if, you know, we see them win the battle before Baelor shows up, if Bittersteel doesn't take all of their rear guard and go after, you know, Bloodraven, so many different things could have happened that led to Daemon winning. That's right, Ashley. You tell them. Smash that like button. Smash it. Okay? I want you to break your screen. Don't do that. Don't do that. Young Griff, Aegon is a fake. He's a Blackfire, and Elia's children are dead, dead, dead. I agree, Holly. I agree with that. I kind of hope that's the case. So many vows that make you swear and swear. Defend the king, obey your father, protect the innocent, defend the weak. What if your father despises the king? What if the king massacres? Great quote. Massacres the innocent. Great quote. Fantastic quote. One of the best. A finger in the bum. Yes. Bye, Casper. Thank you for stopping in. Appreciate you as always. And I hope you have a fantastic night. All right. Moving on to our YouTube page. K Fizzle says, Quentin's story being a twist on the tale of a knight and him realizing his quest is not at all magical. The scene where he resolves to try and steal the dragon is one of the best in the series. Yeah, again, I'm not a big fan of Quentin's story. I've always found it one of, for me, the weakest ones of Dance. But I will say, I think the end of his storyline is fantastic. And kind of how desperate he becomes to not be a failure in his father's eyes. And we see that being a big motivator, not being a failure from your parents, and making your parents proud in this world is something that's very important. And I think all of that comes to a great head in Quentin's arc. So I agree with you on that, K Fizzle. Getting to Ashley, of course, Ashley's on here because she's kind of the GOAT. Wyla Manderley's defiance in the Mermen's court. Again, talked about a lot of this, but again, fantastic. When you see Wyla Manderley, who's this younger character, standing up to everyone, saying, you know, no, fuck these Freys, screw them. Why are they even here? Screw them. Love that. Fantastic. One of the better moments of Dance as well, because we're all sitting there like, we're reading the pages, we're like, yeah, let's go. Fantastic moment. Theon and Jane's escape from Winterfell when he uses the last of his strength to carry her up the stairs. Let's just say this, Ashley. Theon in general in Book 5. Not just that moment, but everything with Theon is perfect. We see this broken character trying to get back to becoming Theon, and this is just another one of those steps to that. Again, fantastic. Rhaenys' exit, probably the most heroic death in A Song of Ice and Fire. 100% agree. We know how we love our Rhaenys. The Hound going to Sansa's quarters before leaving King's Landing during the Battle of the Blackwater. Again, fantastic. And Sansa should have gone. Oh yes, and this little gem, courtesy of Lord Wyman. So young, though mayhaps this was a blessing. If he had lived, he would have grown up to be a Frey. Again, we talked about this quote. Fantastic as well. All bangers, Ashley, and fantastic ones, as always. We're getting to one of my favorite ones, though, from Zen. So we'll stop there, and we'll read a little bit of that the comments. Smash that like button like the mountain smashed Oberyn's head. Oh, dear. The fact that Duran is wondering about Quentin and doesn't know he's dead was it for me. Poor Duran. Poor Duran. The phrase have done enough fucking. Yeah, they need to slow down. They need to slow down. There's too many phrases. All right, Zen Book Reviews says, and Jenna to Jaime, you smile like Garyon and fight like Tig, and there's some of Kevin in you, else you would not wear that cloak. But Tyrion is Tywin's son, not you. Best of all time. I think this is a fantastic quote. And this is just one of those quotes from George where it's not needed. Like, it's not a quote that like, oh, this is pivotal to the story. But at the same time, it's a quote that does so much for so many characters. This tells us a lot about some of Tywin's brothers. It too tells us a lot about Jaime's character. Again, this is someone very close to Tywin and Jaime and people like Tyrion. She knows all these people really well. And I think she's an understatement when she says there's some of Kevin in you. I think there's a lot of Kevin in Jaime. I think Jaime is someone that is a commander that is not like cruel like Tywin at times, but he's someone like Kevin, where Kevin got things done and he did them very efficiently. He is someone that was very underlooked because of Tywin. But yeah, you know, and then also pointing it in that he smiles like Garyon and fights like Tig. Jaime really is a culmination of everyone kind of except Tywin. Jaime really isn't like Tywin in a lot of ways that like Tyrion is. It's just a fantastic quote for a lot of different characters, especially for like Tyrion as well. Yes, Metal, there was. If the Dance of the Dragons never, if family was one Daenerys story would be epic in the Holly, what are you trying to say here? If the Dance of the Dragons never happened, I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, Holly. Great quote. I really want to see an interaction between. Yeah, that would be a really awesome conversation. Anyone else sad when Kevin Lannister died? I am sad that Kevin died because he's a fantastic character. But at the same time, I'm Team Young Griff, so screw that guy. But I will say, I'm Team Stannis, then I'm Team Young Griff. I have the expectation that Stannis is not going to be in play for the throne by the end of Winds, so we're Team Young Griff. I agree, Matt. You would think they would have a side house. When Jaime was told that by Gemma, made me finally drop the Tyrion is a Targaryen theory to 0%. I agree, Carson. What if the Greyjoys decided to attack King's Landing instead of the North and was able to take it over? Okay, so let's think here. What if they did this? So they do it around... I don't know how that would go. Because if it was a surprise attack, which is not very likely, the Greyjoys would have had to sail all the way across the ocean, the sea. They would have known by then. So we would have had a really weird interaction because by the time they got all the way around, it probably would have happened like either directly after the Blackwater or it would have happened right before. So you would have been in a really situation because if it happens right before, the Tyrells don't get there. So there's a chance maybe the Greyjoys could have taken it. But regardless, they wouldn't have held it. But then it would have freed up the North. So the North now does not, like, there's no problems in the North. Bran wouldn't have been going north to, again, the Wall and all that and beyond. That's a great question there. But at the same time, we're also saying that maybe the Greyjoys don't team up with the Starks. It's just that they attack King's Landing instead. There's a lot of interesting things happen there because now Catelyn really doesn't feel pressured and that emotion doesn't get her to release Jaime. So that doesn't piss off the Karstarks. You also don't have to go north so the Frey thing doesn't happen. Rom's campaign is probably looking a lot better, is the short answer to a very long question you can go. Team Dany for the win? No. The Dance of Dragons never happened, and the family were one Daenerys or would be. Oh, okay, yeah, I agree, Holly. I've always thought under Kevin and Marjorie's guidance, Tommen would have been a fair king, not a great one, but a decent one. Yeah, I think he would have been good. I think he would have been, again, like Tywin kind of talks about, a king with good counsel can be a very efficient rule. That's how I kind of look at that. I'm Team Stannis, but he tries to be things the right way and be honorable, so chances are he's going to get screwed over and betrayed by something stupid. I don't think that's going to happen. I just think it's going to be something where he's trying to defend the North from the others. It's kind of where his plot and his arc's been going, and I think that's what's going to get him killed, probably. I think he'll have an honorable, good death, but I don't think it's going to be because maybe it could be because he gets betrayed or something like that, but I don't know about that. All right. Moving on. We have from Violet. The dragons in general, but my favorite is the summers have been shorter since the last dragon died, and the winters longer and crueler. And this is a great quote because it just references so many different things. It's kind of like the idea that, one, the dragons are kind of the counterbalance of the others. And also there's this idea of their magic, right? That the dragons and their magic have gone out of the world since they've died. It's really a great idea, and it's like the idea of summer being longer because of the fire of the dragons, and because that's gone now, there's nothing really to counteract that. So I really like that quote, and I agree with you, Violet. The dragons are pretty dope. Moving on, we have Matthew. Matthew has a very good quote here as well because it just hits on so many different parts of the story. There's a savage beast in every man, and when you hand that man a sword or spear and send him forth to war, the beast stirs. The scent of blood is all it takes to wake him. Again, we see this at so many times, right? When you're fighting in war and when you're dying and you're seeing people die and all these things are happening, right? Look at the Dothraki culture. And especially when we see, for instance, Dany, when she's like, okay, let's go invade Westeros, and she sees what the Dothraki do in war, kind of this exact point. And when we look at other points, like Tyrion, his first time in combat in the book, he is someone where the adrenaline gets to him. And you see all of these things where you're seeing people are looting corpses to gain. And we see things like the sack of King's Landing. There's just so many situations that this relates to. And war, where you're telling people to go die for something, it's just different. It changes a person fundamentally. So fantastic quote for you, Matthew. How do you think Tommen will die? Maybe being thrown from a window? I think that more than likely the Sand Snakes will get to him. Him and Myrcella. I also agree, Maz. I think he is going to use some trickery. Balon was such an idiot. He should have taken a side instead of going out. Yeah, Balon is quite literally, in my opinion, of all of the people in charge of a major house, the worst. He is so dumb. That's why I want to make a Quelon Greyjoy video, because I think, God, Balon's father was so smart. How? Dude, okay, Quelon Greyjoy's wife must have been an idiot. Like, I don't understand, because all of his children are morons. Like, all of them. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the bad Greyjoy genes. Maybe it was just like the gods flipped a coin and it didn't go so well. I agree, though. The Trojan horse tactic, I really like that idea. What if Ned claimed independence during Robert's rebellion? Again, I think the North is a really weird kingdom after the dragons. Because I really think they could have been independent at any point. Like, you can't invade the North. You can't. Especially with competent leadership, you just can't. I think Ned probably missed an opportunity and he could have done that, right? Ned could have justified it by saying, look what being under the Seven Kingdoms has done. They've killed off a lot of my family. What are you guys going to do if I secede? I don't think Robert would have had that much of a problem with it either. So I kind of agree with you, Otto. I don't think there would have been actually a big problem if Ned had done that. Callum was too slow and honorable-minded that she pulled a Ned by releasing Jaime. That's not how you handle it. Exactly. It should have been more like, okay, let's do the trade. You meet us here, and I'll meet you there, and then we swap. Not, here, take the prisoner, and I hope you give me back my daughters type situation. But yeah. You think Robb could have won if the Greyjoys backed him, but he still made his other. I think if the Greyjoys had actually backed Robb, and it was legit. It wasn't like they were planning to betray him. It was legit. They were working together. Like, let's say Asha was in control, and Asha was the person that allies with Robb, and the two had all of the power of the Greyjoys. I think they could have. Because think about what the Greyjoys could have been doing, right? You could have had a war on two fronts for the Lannisters right off the bat. You could have had, again, repeat of the Greyjoy Rebellion, where you see the Greyjoys, they come down. They don't even have to attack Seaguard this time, right? Because Seaguard is with Robb. You put all of your forces into Lannisport. You start sieging. You start destroying. Focus all of these reserve forces that Robb has to keep destroying on the Greyjoys. So now it's kind of just a war with whatever Tywin can muster over here. So you're pulling the Lannisters, and all while this is going on, then you would see Stannis would then win. So yeah, I do think if the Greyjoys had backed Robb, things go very different. Sansa calling for the North's independence is stupid because Daenerys can't have children, and the North will be independent one way or another. I kind of agree. I think the way they did it was really dumb, Mar. Aeron Danforth, yeah, he's cool. Like, Victarion is cool, but they're all still idiots. Asha and even Theon Theon got the bad genes to begin with, and then my boy got humbled. Okay, but Asha got the good genes. I agree, Ash. That's a great moment because she's great foreshadowing. If Robert lost the Battle of the Trident, Rhaegar becomes king, and the rebellion's basically forced to kneel. Aerys is dead because Rhaegar is just going to usurp the throne. Tywin backs it because he was sitting it out the war, and yeah. I think the Dany Nazi thing was yes, I agree. Do you have a favorite theory on how the dragons came into existence? Were they always there or an experiment? I really don't have a theory on that, Violet. I really don't. I haven't looked into a lot of the theories on that. But I'd be interested to see what you guys think. But no, I don't really have one. Sterling says some battles are won with swords and spears, others with quills and ravens. Yeah, perfect just analogy of the series as a whole, especially with the war. And Tywin is just the perfect person to say this, right? This is how he wins the War of the Five Kings. Sometimes it's with battles, sometimes it's with alliances or other things, making alliances with the Boltons, the Freys, the Tyrells. I agree. The King Who Cared. Exactly. So, Ivan, I wasn't sure if you're talking about Young Griff, because I know there's like a fan fiction with this title on it. So, I haven't looked into that. But, yeah, I can agree with you on that. I'm a big Young Griff guy. Loyalty as Royalty says, I like the whole dialogue of the Tower of Joy skirmish. Yes, it allows you to really speculate on what possibly happened there. I really like that dialogue there as well. Greyjoys are dumb because they keep breeding with dummies. I see Frey marrying his idiot daughter to them. Cersei's smart, not clever, could fit right in. I agree. Wherever the horse go. Yes. Ned versus Robb, Civil War in the North. Ned is clapping Robb. If we're talking about them actually being in a civil war, Ned is winning. But, yeah. Another great moment we have from Mr. Luke is when Maester Aemon reveals to Jon that he is Aemon Targaryen. Again, it's a perfect culmination of Jon's story, because you see Jon as this character that's like, I've got to help my family. I've got to help the Starks. I can't let them die out. And Aemon can relate. It's the perfect time to reveal that Aemon is a Targaryen, when you have this idea that Aemon has been through the same struggle, and Aemon knows what it's like. And Aemon, in a way, isn't really telling Jon to stay, because Aemon has a lot of regrets in it on himself, not being able to do anything, not helping his family. It's a great moment, especially for the books. Katie says, the dragons being born. Yes, fantastic moment. I did a top 10 chapters and or moments video, and that one was, I think, in the top 5. It's one of the best moments. It completely changes the series and the atmosphere as a whole. When the sun sets, your line will end. Fantastic, badass quote, Evie. Love that quote, and really good one to bring in. Twist says, of course you named your sword. Lots of people name their swords. Lots of cunts. Great quote from the Hound. And I commented this back to you, Twist, but I have no idea that why YouTube even let you like type that out, because there's so many comments that get like flagged for me that, like, even though I have it on, you guys can comment whatever you want. There's a lot of times where YouTube's like, we're not gonna allow that to be posted, but they were fine with that one. So kudos to you, Twist. But yeah, it kind of just speaks to who the Hound is. The Hound doesn't believe in like all these knights and all these noble names and chivalry and all that stuff. It kind of just seems fake to him. And it's kind of just a perfect like culmination of that. So another fantastic quote. Matthew, the goat mod in the chat. Robert Baratheon, you smell like blueberry jail. Well, Matthew, we know what you were thinking when you typed this out. You were probably a little hungry. or you were a little horny. One of the two. Citro says, Jamie, he thought. My name is Jamie. Again, one of the greatest chapters in the story. Fantastic. And it's kind of this culmination where Jamie's kind of on his redemptive arc. And he doesn't want to be known as the Kinslayer. He doesn't want to be known as this dude that everybody hates and people talk down on and mock him and for his honor and things like that. And he wants to atone for a lot of his sins that he's done in the past. It's just a fantastic quote. All right. What do we got here? Kind of off topic. Why is Ned's immediate family the only Starks before Robert's rebellion outside of the Karstarks, of course? Again, I think there's a lot of gray area with the Starks and kind of the things that were going on for the lineage. But it is interesting that there's not a lot of Starks. Like when the story starts, even like, you look at Rickard Stark's family, it's not a very big family. Like, I don't know a lot on like, did Rickard have a brother or sister? Like where were all the rest of the Starks at? It's kind of dumb the North doesn't have a large fleet of ships. The North has the best material to build a strong navy with ironwood from the... Well, okay. They do have a fleet. It is with, again, the Manderleys. I just don't think the North maybe like, I can't speak right now, but prefers it, I guess? Or there's another word I'm looking for. I just can't say it. But prefers, like, having a large navy. Maybe it's just not something that they preference. That's what I was looking for. That's the word. But even Ned, like, did preference it. Like, when he tells Catelyn, like, go to the Manderleys and tell them to start building a navy. We're going to need it. So, again, I think it's just one of those things where time, Egg, I dream I was old. Yes, fantastic quote. I think Aemon's death is another just great moment. But yeah. You think Jorah Mormont will abandon Daenerys or die and not stay with her like he promised? Daenerys has been an asshole with him for so long, he would abandon her. I think it's likely, but I do think Jorah will stay with her, though. Jan Royce is related to the Starks. That is true. I totally blanked. My favorite quote is "Kill the boy." That is a fantastic one as well. How about Robb versus Jon Civil War in the North? Robb would win just based on the fact that he has the Stark name, and also I think he's a better military commander than Jon is, especially in like an open battle. Just Robb has more experience. No comment. Oh boy, Matthew. Oh boy. Prioritize. That's what I was kind of looking for, Ashley. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I do not know who Ned Stark's mother is. Robert and Aegon IV are so alike that they spread the blood of the dragon everywhere. If Jon proves to be difficult, Daenerys could keep it pure with one of Robert's bastards. That's true. Yeah, Jaehaerys, it's very suspect. And it really feels like it's one of two things. It's either... It could be both of these things, but it could be Benjen's guilt, because, again, I am someone that theorizes that he is the one that actually introduced Rhaegar and Lyanna. He would know the secret that was going on. He would know, again, Robert's rebellion is not really all that it seems. Two, it could be that he tells Ned this, because Ned, like, finds out. Ned finds out, what happened at the Tower of Joy. And so Benjen, then, is sent to the wall by Ned. Ned's like, you need to go to the wall. Like, this is a crime. Thousands of people died. So, I don't know. That's kind of how I read that situation. Ned Stark's mother is Lyanna Stark. Thank you. Very true, Ashley. No, my friend, Jon would easily destroy Robb because Jon is a sane, patient, smart politician. We've seen Robb stupid countless times. Yeah, but at the same time, Jon is also not a good politician. Like, he can be, but let's also remember Jon died because of how good he was as a politician. So, I don't know if I would say that. And also in a civil war, I think Robb just wins. I like, it would have to be a scenario where people backed Jon, because who is backing Jon at this moment? Like, maybe it was like, okay, maybe if it comes out that's like Ned and Ashara are Jon's parents, and maybe Jon was born before Robb, and so people believe, okay, that Jon is legitimate. He's the one that should be ruling, not Robb. Okay, so maybe people would sway to his side, but given the situation where you have Robb has all of the North backing him, I don't know how that would go. Is Benjen dead? I believe so, Violet. Okay, so let's move on with our questions, and then we are going to end stream. All right. Neves Gabriel. I'm just going to say Gabriel because I know your name's Gabriel. Robert smashing Rhaegar's chest with the Warhammer. Yes, the moment that changed history forever. Fantastic moment. And Emily responds, gods, I was strong then. So, yeah. We see Mig Stapers, Jon Conn's desperation again. We see the way that Jon Conn is a character that is motivated by his failures at the Battle of the Bells. We see he is someone that wants to atone for this, helping Rhaegar's son become king, and probably is gonna find out that Rhaegar is not the son. We're gonna get the moment, you are not the father type situation. And yeah, that's a major motivator in the whole Young Griff camp at the moment. And I think one of the best quotes of the series coming from FaZe Diamond, Kraken and Dark Flame, Lion and Griffin, the Sun's Son, and the Mummer's Dragon. Trust none of them. Remember the Undying. Beware the Perfumed Sentinel. So, again, a quote that just has so many meanings, so much foreshadowing. We're not even completely sure on this quote as of yet because it's very close into Winds of Winter. They're fantastic quotes. Something we're going to look back and, know even more about what George was saying there, but just fantastic quote there. One of my favorites as well. Maybe, Matthew. Maybe. All right, guys. Thank you all for joining the stream. I hope you guys had a great time. Hope you all enjoyed us just reminiscing on some of the great moments of A Song of Ice and Fire, some of the great plot points, and some of the great morality stuff and inner conflicts. So thank you guys all for watching. I hope you guys all have a fantastic night. I will see you guys in other videos this week or in the live stream next week. Have a good night.